Hello, friends. It's me, the host with the most, Kathy Wright, your life after the leap host. I hope everybody is doing great today. I am here and I'm excited. Can you tell? Jazz hands. They're fading in the background because I got my background on. But I'm excited today because I have a really good friend of mine who is here today and he's going to share with us his journey as a leaper. I want everybody to meet my friend LaMarque Ward. Hi, LaMarque.
Hello, Kathy. Right, my sister. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. I appreciate you being with us today. I am excited for what you'll be sharing today. People don't know how dope you are, but they will after this broadcast. So thank you for coming on Life After the Leap.
No problem. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. So, Lamarque, tell us, like I know you as an education consultant, but you've had a very full life doing a lot of amazing things. Can you kind of like give us a little, background about like who you are and how you got into education?
Yeah. So one, I always wanted to be in education. I don't think you've ever heard me say that. But so I am CPS. I'm a Cincinnati Public Schools graduate. Graduated from Aiken High School.
All right, swoop, swoop.
Swoop. There we go. So I'm one of the many great ones, right?
Mhm.
Um, but I played basketball, and so that was kind of like my ticket out, kind of sort of like that was my thing, and I worked really hard at it, and so hard at it to where it put me in the top 1% of basketball players in the country my senior year, and then so I tell people I went to college to play basketball. I just so happened to get an education.
No.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that part, right?
Right.
And so after that, I continued. I've always had a heart to move things forward, to help people, to solve big problems. So then I played professionally around the world, and that was just such a great experience for me. It gave me such a full life at such a young age, um, and then after that, I came back and I was a building sub at Glen Swing Elementary in Covington for a little bit, and
Mhm.
uh, they wanted to bring me on full time and wanted me to go back to school to become somebody in their school district. And Job Corps called me on the way. I was walking to the principal's office to make my decision that day, and Job Corps Diane Evie called me on my way and said, "Come to interview with us today." As soon as you leave
At
school
Job Corps.
at Job Corps, and that was kind of like my break into education. I got into teaching. I was a trainer at Job Corps, but I got to see a comprehensive perspective on education,
Mhm.
and from the Job Corps perspective, and it just changed everything. And so I asked myself the question: what if we started providing different services to kids in high school
Mhm.
before they get here? And then that, so my brain just began to work for all of those problems, and then it just took off from there.
So I gotta step back a click because you mentioned something in your story, right? Because I'm very interested in the journey, right? To get to where we are. There's just like so many like important pieces. And one thing you mentioned is that you play basketball, like,
Right.
and that you played it at a high level. You played it internationally. You played professional basketball. Was there anything from that global experience you had as a basketball player that you were able to use and leverage as you transitioned into education?
Yeah, right. Like I learned what not to do.
Mm. Hmm.
Right. I mean, when I was playing internationally, my teammates didn't speak very good English. I spoke a little bit of German. When I was in Switzerland, I spoke a little Spanish when I was in South America. I spoke very little Latvian when I was over there because it's just such a tough language. It's like a broken form of Russian. Such
Hmm.
a tough language for me to get the cadence on. But but at the end of the day, you got to become somebody people want to follow.
Mm,
And I always lead with that. And people don't, they think they lead with their education, they lead with all these things, but it's you, right? You are the thing. And
mm-hmm,
so when there's a language barrier, you have to be consistent. They have to read all the other social cues that say I'm trustworthy when there's a
mm,
language barrier.
mm-hmm.
So so me learning that, learning how to be consistent, learning how to bridge those gaps, standing in front of the grocery store in Switzerland saying it's broken English, it's broken English, it's broken English, w- waiting until somebody spoke English. That's what I
Yeah,
was saying. Does anybody speak English? And had time to help me grocery shop every week. That was a whole job by itself. I had to
right.
go get bundled up and go stand in front of the grocery store for an hour until somebody wanted to help me.
I love that. I love that because it speaks to well, you talked about a couple of key like attributes or core values, which was trust, leadership. Like who do you have to become for that people will follow you, and then just there's this level of vulnerability in that story, right? Like you
Mhm.
had to be vulnerable enough to the spaces that you were going in, right, to try to create connection with people, right? Standing outside of a grocery store saying, "What is this? Sprocken English?
Es frag in English.
It's broken English, right? Right. You're standing out front and you're being vulnerable in that space, but you were allowing yourself to then create connection. And one of the things that I know about you is that you're a great connector, right? And so as you talked about that story and then moving into how you talked about being at Job Corps, right? And somebody saw something in you, right? So to me, it mirrors like you standing in front of the grocery store in Switzerland. Like you were, if you weren't saying Sprachen English, right? You were saying something in your actions, words, or deeds that spoke to the leadership at Job Corps that said, "Hey, we want to engage with him. We want to connect with him, and create another opportunity."
They asked me an interview question. I remember what I said all those years ago.
Mm,
They said, what makes you better than any other candidate that we have that we can interview? Well, like what makes you better?"
mm-hmm,
And I said, I'm not.
mm,
I said, everybody who you're going to interview meets the qualifications. I said, the only thing I can tell you is that I'm going to show up every day. I'm going to work hard and I'm going to love kids.
mm. That's powerful. That's powerful. So they hired you on the spot, or they what
They,
did
they
they?
hired me on the spot. That's what happened.
Right. Because people don't talk like that. People do not talk about like what really does set them apart. And sometimes it's very nuanced things, right? But the fact that you were able to search in your mind and understand that, what you were bringing to the space, showing up there, connecting the kids, loving kids is a thing that would be important and for them to know and understand deeply. You elevated that, and they were able to offer you a job. I think a lot of the leapers in our space, right? There are they have lots of different stories, lots of different backgrounds, but I think a key theme for everyone is how do you create connection? How do you leverage those connections to
Mhm.
create a new pathway forward? And so this example that you just shared, I think is a powerful one as people start to think about their next level life, what they might do if they want to open a business, whatever that might look like. How do you create that uniqueness, right? That is still authentic and speaks to the values of the organization that you're trying to move forward with.
Yeah, it's you don't have to be right
Mm.
to be right.
Hmm. Right. Hmm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's so yeah. It's a really cool thing that you were able to express that in the meeting, and then you moved into the role at a Job Corps, but somehow, some way, you left Job Corps and you ended up opening dream builder. So you got to tell me how you were able to do that.
Yeah, so at Job Corps, right, I began to see the real problem because I'm wired to solve stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's
Mm-hmm.
just that's just the way my brain is wired. So I'm looking like, what's the root cause, right? And I'm meeting the kids, listening to their stories. Some of them come from Wanted Hills, got good parents. I'm like, well, what happened, right? Like, and all the stuff that was going on, and the kids were missing something in high school. That's what
Mm-hmm.
junior high, high school. There was a connection that didn't happen. There was an injury emotionally that happened to a lot of these kids. So it wasn't just kids who were come from the so to speak, in the urban core or in the hood who didn't have X and Y and Z, who just made all these bad decisions. You had kids who were just trying to still figure life out, and so I began to want to solve that problem. I wrote my first book, Competing as a Lifestyle, You versus You. I'm like, everything that I wish somebody had told me in seventh, eighth, ninth grade, I'm gonna put it in a
Mm-hmm.
40-page book because
Mm-hmm.
I know I hated reading back then, right? So if I put
Right.
it in 40 pages, it might get passed. So, so I did that. And then I said, well, I went to a conference in San Antonio because then now I'm managing all the programs, like the recreational programs. So this was like all the wraparound programs for the Job Corps in Cincinnati. And this guy, Dr. Larry Brantrow, he wrote a book called The Resilient Generation. I went to go see him. Went to this trainer. I sat in the room with him. I saw so many people who were not engaged, who were just on vacation on the company dime. You know what I mean?
Oh, they were at the conference, but they
They were at
weren't
the
engaged. I
they
got
weren't engaged. And
you.
so
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking notes. I'm like, right. Like Dr. Edna Olive was there, right? And I'm like, I'm just crushing it. My notepad, I'm running out of notepads. And I saw the burden that Dr. Brancho carried. His heart was broke. The burden of knowing what he knew, but couldn't get people to get it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He was such a somber man. It broke my heart to see him that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so on a piece of paper, I wrote down dream builders, and I started building, writing things down. I still got the folder with the papers are brown on the edges now, but I still
Mm-hmm.
got the folder where I wrote it all down, and then and started the process. And so from there, I started using all my sick and vacation time. So I started realizing that at Job Corps that like it was limited. The system didn't give me full range of motion. So when I was going to do school assemblies around the country and locally, with my book, I call those mental health days because I
Mm-hmm.
was a better employee for them.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't know they needed me to go stretch my muscles out so I could come back and give them the best part of me. So
Mm-hmm.
so I started using all my sick and vacation time. My wife and kids were going to Utah for a month, and I couldn't go because I had to still work. So
Right.
I was building my company at the same time. I was working, and on the way back from Utah, I would go to Utah, Nebo School District, and I was speaking. We would do 3 schools a day for 4 days. I mean, wiped
Mm.
out, running to the airport to take a
Right.
nap.
Right.
And on the way back, the first company was called Cincinnati Dream Academy.
Mm.
And then on the way back, I call it the voice of God. You can call it whatever you want. But
Mm-hmm.
the Lord spoke to me and said, how can you have a national company with a local name? And then that's where we got Dream Builders University Inc. at.
Very nice. I love that story. One of the things that I always highlight, whether it is in the Life After the Leap group or in my executive coaching group that I'm running, um, is that as you start to get your the bug to start a business, it's important that you um keep your money flowing, right? So you often have to keep your 9 to 5 while you building your passion project, your hustle, whatever that next level life you're building for yourself. You often have to do them at the same time. So how was that in terms of, like, you kind of alluded to it already, but like, was that hard to do?
Oh, definitely it was hard.
Yeah.
I mean, but I knew I was building something I was built for. right?
Mhm, mhm.
And my wife understood it. At our home, we used to live in College Hill. At our home, I built my wife just was talking about it yesterday. You remember you started in the basement, right?
Mm, mhm. Yeah.
Right?
Any of your organization started in the basement, in the garage.
Yeah, in the basement. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I would be down there at either, and I tell entrepreneurs, you never gonna have time to start your business. You either gonna have to work at 1 in the morning or 5 in the morning. But if you haven't lost no sleep over it, you'll never fight for it.
Yeah. There's such good advice. I mean, it's just because entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. Even if you know that there's a niche there, even though you are uniquely qualified to fill that niche, there's still feast or famine times, right? And
Well,
yeah.
and Kathy, I never miss my kids' games and practices.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I didn't have time, right? There was no time, right? So either you're gonna learn how to operate off less sleep, or you're gonna cheat your family. And I wasn't gonna cheat my family.
Right.
So I learned how to operate off less sleep.
Well, I mean, there's definitely, as people are starting to think about like launching businesses, growing their businesses, transitioning out of a traditional 9 to 5, that has to be made super plain, right? And they have to have some realistic, understandings about what their schedule might look like, right? Because again, like you said, it's you have to make a decision about what's going to remain important for you and what you're not willing to give up, because you're going to give up something, right? In your case it was sleep, right?
You got to pay full price.
There you go.
Yeah, you
Hmm.
can't. It's no way to get around it. You
Hmm.
you you know, Jim Rohn says it this way. Jim Rohn, right? If you look him
Yeah.
up on ROHN, right?
ROHN. He's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, he's awesome. He
He's
said
the
you work
seed
from
in the
nine to
tree.
five for
Mhm.
your check, and you work from 5 to 9 for your wealth. And one day your 5 to 9 will replace your 9 to 5, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so that's just the way it is. But a lot of folks are in love with the novelty of it being a business owner. It's a novelty. It's just they don't. It's not driven. This is why Simon Sinek said, "Well, what's your why? Start with why. You
Hmm.
got to have something you want to die for. Like if you
Hmm.
don't do that thing, then is the world gonna be the same without it?"
Right. Right. It's got to speak to your passion. It's got to speak to your heart, or you'll give up, right? When it gets hard, and so there's just so much energy required to make those decisions. But I love the example that you shared about, like, making how you made that decision for yourself. So you were doing Job Corps
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
were sketching on paper, Dream Builders University, right? Out of your basement.
yeah.
How did you, what was the moment you knew you could give up Job Corps and just do Dream Builders full time?
So I didn't really know, right?
Okay.
So we were placing life coaches at Children's Hospital and Tabor House, and the kids who were in our program, their cycles were going faster. So that's how we tested our we what we were doing worked, because we were working with kids with mental health issues with their therapists, and we were providing coaching for those kids to help
Mm,
them increase their self-efficacy and their confidence and their conflict resolution skills and how they viewed themselves when they looked in the mirror. And our kids, their cycle, they were finishing the program faster. So
okay.
so the longer the kids in the program, that means that they're not hitting their levels in the program. So then from there, I mean, Kathy, it was just like, man, let's take this to the school. So I took it to the schools, and the schools didn't want it.
Mm,
So then because we get all these downloads and narratives, right? Like, well,
hmm.
they're racist. They don't, these people don't want to give a black man a chance. And I'm saying that on purpose. But
Hmm.
then the dream builder in me, right? The man who said, no, hold on for a second. Everybody wants Tiger Woods on their team.
Right.
Everybody wants LeBron James on their team. You're not good enough. And so instead of giving myself an excuse in that moment to say that society was against me, I took ownership. Let me say it again, ownership. And I
Mhm.
learned how to communicate and prove value to the marketplace.
There you go.
And then I
Hmm.
got a shot. And so I got a call from Dr. Futch. I got a shot. And that was my first contract. And that contract, well, my first larger contract. And
Mhm.
that contract, I was able to, I don't like to say quit, but I was able to graduate. I call it my graduation.
Mhm. Mhm.
and and the rest is history. And here's something else, right? I
Mhm.
worked at Job Corps for 9 years.
Mhm.
On my last day, I waited till about 10:30 to see if they were going to celebrate me at all or do anything. And
Mhm.
so about 10:30, there was no celebration for me on my last So you know what I did, Kathy, right? I ordered pizza for the whole building. I celebrated them. They
There
said,
you
well,
go.
who? They put an email out, everybody's coming. Who ordered pizza? I don't know. War did it. Hey, listen, I love y'all. It's been such a good time. God bless
Right. Yeah, they didn't know what to do.
you. They didn't know what to do.
But what a cool like story. And then like having that moment when you know that you can fully transition and lean into your passion project and give it your full attention and energy. I know that had to be a great moment for you. Did you see your business accelerate quickly? What was that like when you fully were in that space?
Actually, I saw it accelerate, but then I saw the haters.
Mm. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so there was somebody who was in the nonprofit space in Cincinnati who was trying to do what we were doing, but they didn't do it the way we did it, right? Most
Mm-hmm.
people don't do it with that level of expectation, right? As you know, right? I don't play about our
Mm-hmm.
babies. I tell our folks, listen, hey, we're a part of the solution and we become a part of the problem. You can't work here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I took a phone call from this person and they accused me of some things and they badmouthed me to whoever would listen around the city. They were even at a conference out of town talking about me at a table and my friend, like, hold up for a second, right? Calling me in the
Wow.
hallway. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they
Mm-hmm.
don't even know all of this stuff, right?
Right.
But, as you all know, I lead, from my faith. And um, I prayed and the Lord spoke to me and just, told me, hey, hold your ground, right? Hold your
Right.
ground, right? And I stood my ground and we were able to stand the test of time. We were able to prove value. We have an evidence-based program now that is even going into Salt Lake City schools. I talk to schools all the time now, and we're spreading around the country. And it's something that started right here in Cincinnati. Man, I would have never, thought that what we see now. I just would have never. I don't even know what to say, Kathy.
It's pretty exciting when you think about it, right? You were just this basketball, you know, guy, and here you are creating a global company in the basement uh, of her house, and but look at God has blessed you, and look at where you are and where you're hoping to expand to is really a joy to hear about and to see. So you were Dream Builders University, and now I'm gonna put it on the screen for everybody to see. You're now something even more. You're DBU Global. Talk to me about what that is.
Yeah. Wow. It's weird to just even. So, so I think one thing people don't know is, I some people may know, but I never stopped going to school. And so, I went to Harvard Business School to learn some things because I just want to show up and
Mhm.
I just want to be prepared for whatever life brings my way. And So DBU Global is, that's just our holding company. But, we have the Men and Women of Promise Conference. We have DBU Athletics. We have DBU Dream Builders University, which is DBU Education. We don't have Divergent Educational Technologies on there yet. And we're DBU Workforce. A lot of folks don't know we consult with Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't, and I've done some consulting for company, another global, company as a fractional executive, and I was able to bring all of the know-how that I have in this space to help that company get through the pandemic, which is a great accomplishment. I'm proud of that work, And so yeah, this is my heart. This is my passion project, and we get to change the world. And shameless plug, Men of Promise Conference 2022 will be in
Mhm.
Salt Lake City this Thursday. We'll have over 300 kids, and the community is surrounding these young folks out there, and I'm just super excited about all of the work we get to do.
Well, it's an exciting time, right? As a member, as a key partner, right, in Dream Builders University, I can tell you, watching Dream DBU Global come to fruition, hearing about all of the excitement about the Men of Promise and Women of Promise, all of those, it's a very exciting time to be part of the DBU fabric of the ecosystem. So yeah, I really appreciate that dream that you had, right? The need that you saw, the passion that you had around um, working with kids, making sure that they had different outcomes
Yeah,
that were significantly different than what you have been seeing as an educator in that space, right? And actually putting um, some truth to power, right, around that, and actually creating systems of change and influence, and having high expectations and values that kind of set the program apart and has created this now a global brand, is just tremendous. So I want to congratulate you on having the taking care of the dream, right?
well, that's good.
Because it could have been, I'm LaMarque Ward and I used to play basketball, right? And I like, Big Macs. It could have been just that, right? But it was LaMarque Ward, and I learned a lot as a leader on the basketball court. And I got a global experience, and where I had to be vulnerable and learn how to trust and make connections, and I was able to leverage that to do all of these new things that I'm doing now, right? So what a wonderful story that is, right? And it is not common. It's not common, that a basketball guy just starts an education company. You know, so so kudos to you again for following your heart in that space.
Yeah, and I didn't want to like I didn't want to like I didn't want to be just the speaker and the guy who wrote the book,
Hmm.
right? Like I really wanted to be able to do something meaningful. I wanted to be able, in partnership with people like you, who were game changers, but just needed to be more room to stretch their legs out so they can run faster, because you know they have been in a limited, and so to speak, in a lot of cases.
Hmm.
And um and I wanted to be with people that I can dream big with, right? And that they can lead and take ownership, and which is what we have now. We've hired our first COO with Marty Carter, former Prasco executive, and we got Mr. Broadnex, Vice President of Student Services. And so, what we have now is we built a family, and we're dreaming big, and we're pushing each other to greatness. I will say this: if you're thinking about the leap, if you haven't cried in the mirror yet, you're probably not ready.
Mm.
Um, it's sexy to say, "Hey, I'm gonna leave my job. Instagram has made all that sexy, but we don't realize, like, we're not doing that yet for a reason,
Right.
and so we gotta check all the boxes on all the reasons how to set free from that thinking, so you can become it. And I always tell Kathy, I always share this in my talks. You got to look in the mirror and say, I forgive you. I love you. Right. I believe in you. Right. And so I had to master that first. And then, because, you can have moments, And then in those moments, the next day, the next hour, you're reminded of all of the stuff
Mm-hmm.
that can push you back into normal. And so you have to just keep pushing. And so I've had those moments in the mirror with the tears, where, and having to work through all of that and then see some success and mess it up because you don't know what to do with money and, you
Mm.
know, and all of all of the stuff. And then the people coming at you when they think you got something. And so then it's complex. And so, like, the life after the leap, like, you got to know, who am I? What is my purpose? I'm rock solid. Like, I'm going somewhere, and nobody can move me off my square. I'm going to focus. And that's the thing, because we go for the hype. Me and Kathy talked about this the other day. It's easy for you to revert back to what the 17-year-old version of yourself wanted.
Yep.
And you fleece yourself. You fleece yourself at 44, trying to
Mhm.
settle for what the 17-year-old version of yourself wanted, not what the 44-year-old needs, and the reasons why you're doing it. So
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. I was going to ask you for what would be a key piece of advice that you would give anybody considering a leap, but you just gave it to me. What I think, but we hear you were feeling what I was getting ready to ask.
it's
So,
not easy, Kathy. I
yeah.
wish it was easy. I wish it didn't break me down to tears. I wish my wife didn't say to me one day, "Did you lose your inspiration?" Right?
Mm.
I
Mm-hmm.
wish, I wish, I wish, right? I wish that I didn't have to, at one point, um, borrow money on a building I owned to hit payroll. I wish,
Mm-hmm. Right.
I wish,
Right.
but this was all a part of the process, and I'm thankful for it. I believe in you. I believe it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the best thing that I could tell you is, don't be a victim,
Mm.
right? If it hasn't happened yet, it's a reason why it didn't happen. And if you're open and honest with yourself and get into the details and the data, you will see that there's a gap that you need to close. Everybody wants LeBron James. Everybody wants Tiger Woods on their team. So if you want to build a business that's sustainable, that people value, you got to become somebody that they can't live without.
That's good. That's good. Thank you so much, LaMarque. These are only 30 minutes. I could talk to you probably for 2 more hours. but
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
no, 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 no. This is always good. I know that our leapers always appreciate someone sharing their experience and being really honest about what it takes to make that leap. So thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your story today. You can connect with LaMarque. You can go straight to DBU1. Let me put it back on the bottom of the screen just in case you're a school district or organization that wants to change the way that you do business, to be more culturally responsive, to be more inclusive, to be more welcoming, to be a place where people want to work and grow. Contact DBU. Contact DBU at dbu1.com. You can reach out to LaMarque and anybody on the team. They would love to be able to talk with you and learn more about what your needs are and see how Dream Builders can help. Thank you, LaMarque Ward, for being on our amazing podcast. Because it's amazing. It's amazing. We're going to be a global podcast real soon. I'm manifesting that. So thank you for being on. And we will see everybody next time on Life After the Leap. Bye.